Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda and I am here with my weekly wrap-up. We'll start with a t-shirt check. Now, I've already had to refilm this because I accidentally swore saying this. Not because of the shirt, but because apparently I left the R out of the word shirt. But anyway, let's try this again. Today's shirt, you may have seen before because I've had this shirt for a while. And that is, in all of history, it's never the good guys banning books. So that is my shirt for today. This has been a good week. This is the first full week that the kids have been in school. They had picture day yesterday. Went okay, I guess. We'll see. The photographer the school uses is not good. Is not good. They used to have another one that was not good in an organizational way. Like their picture days were disorganized and everything like that. And now they've gotten one who's good at organization, but their pictures are terrible. Like my daughter always looks like she has skunk hair, like white hair, because they have the light like straight down on her. So yeah, I'm like, whatever, fine. Next year she gets her senior photos and we can do better with that. But anyway, next year my baby's gonna be a senior. Anyway, let's get to this week. I'm gonna try and not make this video too long. I'm in the midst of mid-month book bash, so there will be a vlog for like Wednesday to Wednesday. You'll see kind of what's going on in my life, and I am doing better this time than I did the last time I tried to do a vlog. Last two times I tried to do a vlog, which did not go well. Okay, so this past week I finished 4 books, but I can only talk about 3 of them because one of them is for the BookTube prize. And if you want to know what it was, I mean, I can tell you what it was. It was The Bar and the Secret History of a Murder in Mississippi by Wright Thompson. But if you want to know what I thought of it, can't tell you until October. But I've already filmed my little snippet of it. So when my BookTube prize wrap-up video goes up, you can see what I thought of it. So I'm going to talk about 3 books. And I'm apparently embracing Shorty September because 2 of them are shorties. And the first one is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And why didn't anyone tell me this book was going to wreck me? Holy crap. I read that and I was just like, oh my God, I will never recover from this book. I mean, that's good when a book has an impact on you like that. And, you know, I mean, this is not a book people like, okay? Like this book. But it is definitely going to be one of my favorites of the year because wow. And I've always had a really great experience with the John Steinbeck I've read, but this one, nothing has hit me like this one has. Wow. I can't believe I haven't read it already, but I hadn't, so I did. And it was a shorty. So, Shorty September, woohoo! My next book is not a shorty, but it's not terribly long either. It is the Agatha Christie book I was supposed to read last month, but August got away from me, so I'm doing 2 Agatha Christies this month, so this is my first one. And this is Mrs. McGinty's Dead. And this is a Poirot. And in this, we have Poirot looking at a case that has already gone to trial and been convicted. Mrs. McGinty was a charwoman in a little town. We're an English village town mystery here. And she had been murdered for no one really knows why, but they have convicted the man who was renting from her tenant, her roomer, her boarder, whatever, who was having money troubles, and her money did go missing and they found it in his room and all this. That all happens before the book. And this book opens when Inspector Spence, make sure I have that name right because sometimes I don't get these. Okay, actually starts with Hercule Poirot talking about eating. Poirot and his eating is a big deal in this book. Like there's a lot of talk about Poirot and food in this book in a very delightful sort of way. I will say this is a Poirot novel. Like with Agatha Christie and her Poirot novels, you get a lot of different flavors. You get the ones where Poirot's just sort of kind of in the background and asks the right question for someone else to solve. You get those. You get the really serious ones where Poirot has some sort of like inner struggle, like Murder on the Orient Express. And you get ones like this, which are kind of like funny, you know, Poirot is being eccentric, and there's humor with that, and he's being kind of a weird little foreigner. So that's one of these books. Anyway, you get a lot of talk about his food. And then he comes, and Inspector Spence, who's someone he's worked with in the past, comes and says, I need your help. And he says, do you remember the McGinty murder? And Poirot's like, yeah, but they've already convicted someone. And he's like, yeah, but I don't think that the person they convicted, the person that he Spence himself arrested, is guilty. And he wants Poirot to come look at it again. So Poirot, being Poirot, does. And he goes to this little town and he meets all the people that she was a charwoman. So she was like a house cleaner. So she worked for a lot of different families in the village, and he's meeting them all. He has to stay in this horrible rooming house with terrible food. Again, the food is a big thing. At one point, he gets hit in the head with someone throwing an apple core out a window, and we have Ariadne Oliver again. I love Ariadne Oliver. If you don't know who Ariadne Oliver is, she is a character created by Agatha Christie as a stand-in for Agatha Christie. We've seen her before. She showed up in Cards on the Table. That's, I think, where we first meet her, which is a really interesting Poirot. That we also have, was it Superintendent Battle and Colonel Race in that one too? Anyway, that's a really interesting one. Further down the road on this, but it's a book I've already read. We have, she shows up in Halloween Party. And if you've seen A Haunting in Venice, which is supposedly based on Halloween Party, but it really isn't. They have some names in common and they take place at Halloween. That's like the extent of it. Ariadne Oliver is played by Tina Fey, who I actually thought doesn't match the book description of Ariadne Oliver, but I think she gets the spirit of Ariadne Oliver down very well. And anyway, Ariadne Oliver is in here. She doesn't play a really crucial role. She's not solving the mystery with Poirot, but she's there. And in conversations that they have, some things come to mind with Poirot. So, it's always delightful to see Ariadne show up. And so he goes back to this murder, and it's pretty involved. I will say, if I had anyone complain about it, it's that some of the secondary cast, like the cast of characters, the cast of suspects, we should say, they're not super distinct from each other. So sometimes I was like, wait, is that this person or this person or this person? Some of them, but whatever. There's a lot of humor in this book because Poirot is being his eccentric self. I did want to read this one little paragraph, little short paragraph. In fact, it's a sentence. It's not even a paragraph, which sort of captured the tone of this book. So this is somewhat later in the book. Spence and Poirot are talking. The murder, McGinty, Mrs. McGinty's already been killed. That happened before the book. There's been another murder. I guess that's like a minor spoiler, but there's always another murder, so it's not really. And they're talking about it. And all of a sudden, Poirot does his oh, I'm such an idiot. I should have seen this. But he doesn't tell anybody what it is. And this is the response to it. It was after that remark that there was nearly a third murder. The murder of Hercule Poirot by Superintendent Spence in Kilchester Police Headquarters. So I thought that was kind of the dry, cute humor. This is Picture Day. That's why I was remembering Picture Day. So this was definitely a winner for me. I liked it. It was a nice kind of fun one to read because, oh God, of Mice and Men, that one was hefty. Actually, the books I've been reading are kind of hefty. Well, not all of them, but right now I'm dipping my toe into Dorothy L. Sayers. You have to watch my mid-month book bash to get my feelings on that and what I've had to do around that. But anyway, so that was this one. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I really feel with Poirot books, it's not super important to read them in order. I start with the Mysterious Affair at Styles because that's when we're introduced to Poirot. I would say make sure you read Cards on the Table before you read this, just so you know who Ariadne Oliver is. Plus, they kind of refer back to that one, and I think they might they spoil it or not. But they do refer back to the crime in that one, but generally you can read them in any order. Okay, the next book that I finished, and the final one that I'm going to talk about, was, I don't know if I'd call it a recommendation, because it's from Greg, it's supposedly fun, but it wasn't him recommending the book, it was him talking about his pile of possibilities for Shorty September. So from what I understand, he hasn't read this book yet, so I don't know if I can call it a recommendation, but I got it from his suggestion. And that's A Pale View of Hills by Kazuo Ishiguro. I think we all know who Kazuo Ishiguro is. This book came out in 1982, so this is like an earlier Ishiguro. It's also the most Japanese book of his that I've read. I have always considered Ishiguro to be a Western writer. His books that I have read, I have not read them all, but the ones that I have read feel very Western to me. They're literary and they're Western, but there's certain things about Japanese literature that are very different from Western writing. And those hallmarks tend to be in this book. Also, this book is set in Japan, so also feels Japanese there. But here we're following a woman named Isuko. So it's a little bit of a dual timeline. When we first meet her, she's living in England. She's an older woman. She has had 2 daughters, and she's kind of looking back at a time in her life when she was in Japan, when she lived in Nagasaki, at some point after the war, because there was a lot of talk about the destruction of Nagasaki and how things are coming back. So we're set into a time where Japan is in a period of very profound transformation. And when we meet Asuko here, she's a young married woman. She is pregnant with her first child, and she meets a neighbor who's very weird. Neighbor's strange, neighbor is strange. And the neighbor has a strange kid, very strange. And the whole thing is, this is what I mean by I think this feels very Japanese, is that this is a book that talks around things, and you're going to have to accept that there are things you're never going to get resolution for. You just have to accept that that was a thing that was, and it's all about vibes. Alice thinks so too. Did you hear? She has thoughts. And if you can accept that, you'll probably really like this book. I did accept that. I have a friend who lived in Japan for a while. She actually teaches English to Japanese, not really expats, but people who've come over here for work. So she's really up on Japanese culture. We've had discussions about Japanese literature, and this is very typical in that. So if you're expecting to get a strong plot with resolution, you're going to be disappointed in this book, because you're not going to get either one of those. You're going to get this sort of meandering thought about what's going through this woman's head and some things that have gone on in her life. And if you can accept that, this book, I think, will be very successful for you. And I did accept it. And I did actually really enjoy the reading experience of this, once I kind of realized I wasn't ever going to know everything. So there you go. That's A Pale View of the Hills by Kazuo Ishiguro. Those are 2 shorties that I had for Shorty September. I have some more going. I am, as far as shorties, I'm currently reading another one that I got from that same video from Greg, The Lost Daughter, I think, by Elena Ferrante. I'm reading that one at night, so it's taking a little longer. And I'm also reading Whose Body, which is the first Lord Peter Wimsey book by Dorothy L. Sayers. I've had some experience with that. There's been some experiences around reading that. You'll have to watch my mid-month book bash that's coming out next Thursday to see what those are, because I talk about it that. Anyway, that is my week. It's a short video. I'm gonna keep it short today. If you've made it this far and you want to do the emoji thing, go ahead. Let's see. Why don't you leave some food that you think a kill would like? It could be little snails, like little escargot or something. I don't know. Some food. Leave me some like gourmet food emojis or something, because Perot is really, really, really serious about his food in this book, which has nothing to do with the plot. It's just like a weird, eccentric Perot thing. But anyway, yeah. So thank you very much. Like, subscribe, leave me an emoji if you want, or leave me a comment to tell me if you've read these books, what you thought. How long did it take you to recover from Of Mice and Men? Because I'm still not recovered. Yeah. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.